Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
PD Beats here from Popternative, speaking to Burn Gorman about The Offer, premiering on Paramount Plus April 28th. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Burn Gorman is a storyteller. That's what you do. Is it safe to say that transporting into worlds like the world of creating one of the greatest movies of all time, something that excites you the most about storytelling, Burn?
I think that's a really good question. I have been lucky enough in my career to be able to go to other worlds, whether that be, earlier in my career, doing particular types of sci-fi that I've always been a fan of. It's so nice to be able to come into a world that is actually based on a true story. Al Ruddy is now 91 years old. He's finally decided to share his story. And I was really pleased to be able to try and honor this extremely eccentric character, Charlie Bluhdorn. And I really hope people enjoy watching it as much as I did doing it.
You did an amazing job. I had the privilege to watch it
thank you,
already, which is, you did a great job.
Thanks.
What was the preparation wise? Because there was a big transformation here. Like, can you tell me a little bit about the preparation for this role a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Interesting, there wasn't a lot on the internet about Charlie with videos. There are some great pictures of him on the set of The Godfather, and he's kind of sat in the middle of everyone and is obviously, really happy to be there. But there was some great material written about him as an industrialist. He had a great profile in The New Yorker that called him the Mad Austrian of Wall Street. And there are lots of tales of Charlie in stories about the 70s and about filmmaking and about industry, where people will talk about him jumping up and down on a sofa if he got a deal, or barking at people like a dog if he didn't get his way. And I was able to really sort of click into some of those eccentricities. His accent, obviously, he was from Austria, was an immigrant, came to America with nothing and worked his way up. It was just a character which really fascinated me. And
I find it very interesting too, because, we're in a world where we love content that is behind the scenes. A lot of people love interview-based shows on YouTube because I interview storytellers and there's a behind the scenes component. You're making a TV show that is the behind the scenes making of a movie. That's a pretty cool, unique opportunity, I would say, for you and the cast.
It's so cool. Like, are you into that kind of thing? Because I love to know the gossip, to love the little, the intricacies of how something comes together. And this is what we have with Al Ruddy's story, is that he's telling a story that we all know, well, most of us know, The Godfather, one of the greatest films of the last 50 years. And yet we're learning secrets and little nuggets of, for example, the casting. Charlie Bluhdorn wanted to fire Pacino, and Robert Evans didn't want Pacino, and they wanted to fire Coppola, and all these things which some of us know about, but we really hear it from the horse's mouth in Al's story.
Absolutely. It's pretty crazy, Bird. I remember when this project was announced.
Really?
Not even casting or trailers, when it was announced, and now we're talking about it coming out very soon. Like, it's crazy. Has it hit you that it's finally coming out soon?
I'm so pleased. This is exactly the kind of project that I watch myself. So also, you have as an actor, I'm working with actors who I've admired for many, many years. And so we had this atmosphere on set. Most people will say this, but it genuinely was true, where we had a creative team from the writers, the producers, and our director, Dexter Fletcher, for the first two, and then the other directors, where we were able to kind of to play. There was a great atmosphere of collaboration on set. And ultimately, we wanted to honor this story and to tell the story, the exciting story that it is about the making of this great American classic.
There's so much going on. The pace, there's obviously some moments when there's kind of discussions about the script where it is a bit of a slow pace, but a lot of the, especially the first 3 episodes, like I see on the 28th, very fast paced. Do you notice that when you're reading the script for this, that they don't waste time in the first 3 episodes, I feel like?
Yeah, I agree. Like in every project, you have to introduce the people. That can take some time, right? But once the actual caper starts, as it were, you know, Ruddy basically said that every day on The Godfather was the worst day of his life. And I think that, you know, the writers really sort of took that as a touchstone and ran with it. And as the episodes go on, I haven't seen them yet, as I say, but the momentum of whether this thing, you know, we now know it got made, obviously, but also how difficult it was to actually get this thing made. Every day there was problems, you know, like, it's just crazy how it came together in the end. And not only came together, but then became this incredible classic that we all know and love. You know?
What I find really interesting, what you just said, is that something I actually noticed. There was, like, watching it, you know, there's a lot of the conversations about making it, and they're going to say, I don't want to go into big spoilers, but there is a lot of conflict in this about the making of this movie. And that's something I got. There's a lot of things I didn't know about where there are people not happy about this movie being made, and a lot of things. Did you notice like all the storylines with the conflict as well when you're reading the script for this?
Yeah, and you know, the one thing that really shone through was how Coppola was an incredibly different director at that time, believe it or not. To find an Italian-American director to tell the story was actually it was a little bit difficult. Now looking now at basically some of the best films ever made have obviously been by Italian-American directors. It's inconceivable at the time that Coppola was able to not only stick to his vision, but cast who he wanted to cast, even though he was nearly fired numerous times.
Yes.
And he managed to stay true to this vision. And, you know, just so much respect for the man and his art, really, that he stuck to his guns, and this piece of great cinematic art was realized, you know?
Absolutely. There are a lot of movies, and it's funny, you've actually worked on a lot of these movies. There are a lot of movies that have no shelf life and are going to be seen in some of the best of the best. They're always going to be around. Yeah. This is obviously one of these movies. Like The Godfather is never leaving. There's always references. Has it hit you that you're making a movie about the making of one of the greatest like movies that will never go away? Like, The Godfather's never going away, especially in the days of social media. It's always going to be around.
You're right. And why is that? It's because it tells the story of family, doesn't it? It's about loyalty, and it's about the beauty of legacy and all these wonderful themes which seem a bit pretentious, but actually, as intelligent human beings, we do respond to. The biggest buzz for me was going on set and seeing an entire recreation of a scene in the movie that I loved, and also working very briefly with Justin Chambers, who played Marlon Brando, and the young actor who played Al Pacino. It's a strange thing to be working with an actor playing an actor who obviously is some of the greatest actors who've ever lived. You know, that was a real buzz. I'm glad I didn't have that pressure. You know,
absolutely, it's so cool. I'm so excited for people to see it. Bern, this was a blast. Thank you so much for coming on Pop Alternative, and April 28th, premiering on Paramount Plus. The Offer. Thank you so much for your time.
Appreciate it, brother. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Pop Alternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Pop Alternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Pop Alternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.